Hey guys, in this video the lovely Tim is going to be talking about citizens in society for your GCSE Citizenship. Now there are lots of things going in here that you need to remember, so make careful notes and then you can use those careful notes to go over to the website and help you answer the multiple choice questions that are on there just waiting for you.
A citizen is generally defined to be a legally recognised subject of a state. There are many ways in which citizens can be involved in society and in politics, and these include voting, referendums, the membership and activity within political parties, volunteering, interest and pressure groups, and the legal system. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but it does represent the main ways in which citizens are involved in wider society and politics. Nearly everyone over the age of 18 in the UK is able to vote. There are a few exceptions, such as those who don't have citizenship, people who are not registered to vote, and those legally excluded from voting for very specific reasons, such as mental incapacity, or that they do not vote by tradition, such as the royal family. Voting takes place in individual constituencies. The UK is divided up into 650 small bits of about 80 to 100,000 people. People vote within these constituencies for a single MP. Common conception is that when you vote in UK elections, you're voting for the Prime Minister. In reality, you are only voting for your local MP, unless your local MP happens to be the Prime Minister. Voting in the UK is not compulsory. In a small number of nations around the world, voting is considered to be compulsory, and people who do not tend to be fined. Australia is the most commonly cited example. Many people, especially older people, do consider voting to be a duty, and many young people take pride in voting for the first time. Another point worth mentioning here is there has recently been a debate in the UK about the possibility of lowering the voting age to 16. There are many things which can be done at 16, full-time employment, for example, marriage, and therefore some people consider that if you're going to give those rights and responsibilities to 16-year-olds, you should also extend to them the opportunity to vote. The counter-arguments do not have the responsibility, maturity, and life experience yet to be able to put up with the responsibility of voting in a responsible way. As yet, there are no plans in the UK to lower the voting age. However, this may change. In some countries around the world, the voting age is 18. However, in others, it can be as high as 21. A referendum is a mass vote of the electorate on an important issue. By electorate, we mean those who can vote. While referendums in the UK are relatively rare, there have been several recent examples, such as the 2011 Alternative Vote referendum on changing our electoral system, the 2014 Scottish independence referendum, where Scotland decided, after a long campaign, not to leave and become an independent country, and the 2016 EU membership referendum, which resulted in Brexit, an issue which continues to this day. In some other countries, Switzerland is a very good example, referendums are much more common, and in Switzerland, much of government business is conducted by referendums. There are many arguments for and against using referendums as a means of deciding on an issue. Usually, voting in a referendum is on a yes-no basis to a single question to give a clear answer. They can be binding or non-binding. Non-binding or advisory referendums give the public's general opinion to the government, but makes no claim to legally enforce that course of action. Binding referendums bind the government of the day to carry out the wishes of the people. It is worth noting that the 2016 EU referendum was non-binding. Referendums are usually used to settle an important issue on which the country or government, or even perhaps just cabinet, is either split or undecided. Votes are carried out throughout the entire country, and they are then tallied, like in a general election, to find an overall winner. Given the extent and rurality of parts of the UK, it generally takes many hours for all the votes to be counted. There are many arguments for and against referendums. The arguments for include the following. Referendums provide a definitive answer to a difficult question. If the government is unsure what the public is thinking, they can therefore use a referendum to get a definitive answer. This can provide them with political cover. If the later move proves to be unpopular, they can say, well, we were only doing what we were told. Referendums are relatively quick and can be done in a few weeks, and they are relatively cheap. Referendums are much cheaper than general elections. They involve the population in decision-making. Rather than just having elected representatives making decisions without consulting the public, by using a referendum, it's an opportunity to make the public feel included in the political process. Arguments against include the following. Referendums simplify difficult or complex issues. For example, if you take the issue of the EU referendum in 2016, that membership question was a wide-ranging and complex one of economics, of social policy, of history, of trade dynamics, of political theory, and it was reduced to a single yes or no question, for which many members of the public would not feel that they are qualified. Referendums can be divisive. In both the 2014 Scottish independence referendum and latterly the 2016 EU referendum, there was a high amount of division. After the referendum in 2016, much of the population found themselves divided into one of two groups, either a Remainer or a Leaver. Referendums rely on a very high level of public education and awareness about the issues. Especially with the 2011 AV referendum, this was not the case. The study of politics is still relatively rare in schools and universities, and therefore it's not always wise to count on a high level of public awareness and education of the issues. Referendums, especially in the modern age with social media, are very much open to fake news and misinformation. It's very difficult for media providers to tag and label misinformation as such quick enough. Many people will believe what they want to believe and what reinforces their own viewpoint. Skilled campaigners can use half-truths and lies by omission to swing the debate. Most political parties will allow anyone to join, even from a relatively young age. Political parties will generally want a small subscription fee, a few pounds a month. However, this fee may be reduced or waived for students or the elderly, depending on the political party in question. There are several benefits to being a member of a political party. You can vote in leadership elections, have a say over party policy, and be involved in the campaigning and running in an election. If you are particularly lucky or dedicated, you may be chosen as a candidate for local or national election, at which point you then have the opportunity to influence the debate and policy on a national level. Every party has a different structure and different expectations from members. Every party has a different degree to which members are expected to follow their rules, especially on policy. And some parties will kick people out if they publicly speak out against party policy. All political parties are always looking for volunteers for delivery of leaflets and campaigning, and even office work. Many people join a political party for the social aspect, to be with like-minded people who believe in many of the same things they do. Some people use political parties as a networking tool. Some people, for example, join the Labour or Liberal Democrat or Conservative parties in an effort to network and secure jobs or influence in the future. Volunteering can be defined as engaging in work of some kind without being paid, usually in the charity sector. Volunteering allows individuals to make a measurable difference on a local, national or global level. Many young people, for example, work in charity shops to gain experience or references prior to entering employment. Volunteering allows people to gain skills before entering work. The trade-off in many volunteering schemes is that in working for free for a period of time, you emerge with a valuable qualification. Many people, however, volunteer to help a specific charity they have a special attachment to or interest in. Staff, for example, in charity shops will generally have been affected by the issue that charity shop is raising money for or campaigning against. Interest groups and pressure groups are two different things. However, in GCSE Citizenship, there is such a huge overlap between the two, you can effectively consider them to be the same thing. We can define them as a group which campaigns for and defends the interests of a specific group, or campaigns for or against a specific policy or issue. Examples include Stonewall, who campaign for the rights and recognition and good treatment of the LGBTQ+ community, the British Deaf Association, who campaign for the interests and rights of the deaf, and CAMRA, or the Campaign for Real Ale, better recognition for real ale in the UK. Interest groups allow those with a specific issue or identity to campaign either for awareness or a change in policy. Some interest groups, however, are very divisive or radical. Many in the UK on the right verge into neo-Nazi or openly racist tactics and policy, such as the English Defence League. In these cases, where groups do have an extreme ideology, the police will take an active interest. Interest groups can overlap with political parties. The interest group Leave.eu, which campaigns for a clean exit from the EU, overlaps to an extent with both the Conservative and Brexit parties. There are also many ways in which the citizen can be involved in the legal system, which can be, of course, against their will. These include as a juror, an individual who is randomly selected to work as part of a group in court to collectively decide the guilt or innocence of a defendant. As a witness, an individual called into court by the prosecution, defence, claimant or respondent to give evidence for or against an individual or series of events. Or as magistrates, ordinary citizens in good standing who make decisions on the advice of legal professionals on minor issues and criminal cases.
Ouch! This is why in some videos I have unexplained scratches.